Hello, and welcome to Biblical Scrolls, where we take a deeper dive into the hard to interpret, the obscure, or even the misinterpreted passages of Scripture. We will also look at apocryphal and pseudepigraphal texts and other historical manuscripts. We'll be using a variety of sources, so if you're committed to just one version of the Bible, this channel may not be for you. Now let's dig into today's passage. Today's passage is Genesis 6, 1 through 4. I'm going to start by reading that in the ESV. It says, "When man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came to the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown." So now this is a tough passage to interpret, and you will see why. Each of the three main views has its own issues on who the sons of God are in verse 2 and verse 4. The three views to discuss in this video are number 1, angelic beings, number 2, the godly line of Seth, and number 3, heroes of the mythical past or tyrant kings. To start with, the exact expression, sons of God, only occurs 5 times in the Hebrew Bible. This is one of them here, and there are 2 others in the introduction to the book of Job. Let's go over there next. In Job 1:6, it says, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them." And again in 2:1, "Again there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord." And then also in Job 38:7, "When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy." And then the last example is in Daniel 3:25, when the 4th person in the furnace was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, looked to be a son of God, as the king described him. So the phrase sons of God in Hebrew is B'nai Elohim. But that is an issue too, because Elohim can mean Yahweh God, or can refer to any angelic being or fallen angels, anything basically in the spirit realm, any little g gods or God. It's just a generic word for God. Jude 6 and 7 also refers to the angels who had an unnatural desire and indulged in sexual immorality. So this is a flashback to what happened in Genesis 6. So let's read that passage in Jude. All right, and it says, "And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day, just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the surrounding cities, which likewise indulged in sexual immorality and pursued unnatural desire, serve as an example by undergoing a punishment of eternal fire." So a problem with this view is found in Matthew 22:30, where it says that angels don't marry. So let's read that one. "For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven." This is referring to humans that are like the angels in heaven at the resurrection. So it looks as if there's a contradiction, but in Jude it says that they left their proper dwelling place. So in heaven, yes, they neither marry or are given in marriage, but they chose to come to earth and procreate with human women. In other instances, like for instance, the angels that visited Lot before Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, they took on the form of men, and I think this is probably what happened with these angels as well. They took on the form of a man of some type. So we know this because the men of the city wanted to have sex with them, and in Genesis 13:5. So in the Amplified Version, Genesis 13:5, it says, "And they called out to Lot and said to him, 'Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we may know them intimately.'" So the next interpretation that we're going to talk about were that the sons of God were the godly line of Seth, who were intermarrying with the wicked worldly descendants of Cain. But this does not explain why the offsprings were giants, or Nephilim, as Genesis 6 says. Also, the text doesn't actually say that. Are the sons of God believers? And are there only male believers and only female sinners, both from one lineage? So this view is kind of a shoehorned idea to distance from the supernatural element of Genesis 6. Also, human males would not be referred to as Elohim. They could be referred to as a son of God, but the actual phrase sons of God together would be a little different in the description. So the word in Genesis 6 is Elohim, and that would not describe human males. So then the theory that the sons of God are heroes of the mythical past or tyrant kings, this theory is even more confusing. People that hold to this view believe that verse 4 is two different thoughts, the heroes of old and men of renown. So let's go back to Genesis 6. So verse 4 is what I'm talking about. Some versions will say, and there were giants in the earth in those days. So the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. So what I'm saying is the first part, this view would say that the first part of verse 4 and the second part of verse 4 are two separate thoughts. So they're saying that the giants or the Nephilim existed on the earth before this event of the sons of God coming to the daughters of men, and they were also here after the event, which is true because they were here after the flood as well, and I'll show you where that is at in the Bible as well. So they believe that the heroes of old / men of renown refer to the offspring of the angels and human women, but the Nephilim or giants at the beginning of the verse have nothing to do with that. It was a separate issue altogether. And I guess that's possible. It's an interesting view, to say the least. But because we see that giants were on the earth after the flood, when the Israelite spies went to scout out Canaan, the report was that there were giants. Numbers 13:33 in the KJV says, "And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants. And we were in their own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." Other than this, the Nephilim remain somewhat of a mystery outside of the pseudepigraphal texts, such as the Book of Enoch and the Book of Giants. But I do want to read some of the Book of Enoch to you. Enoch 6:1-3. It says, "And it came to pass when the children of men have multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and beget us children." And then also at chapter 12, 4-6, says, "Enoch, thou scribe of righteousness, go declare to the watchers of the heaven who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives. Ye have wrought great destruction on the earth, and ye shall have no peace, nor forgiveness of sin." So this seems to confirm what happened in Genesis 6. Although Enoch is not part of the biblical canon, I still think it's helpful for us to understand some hard-to-understand passages in the Bible that don't expound on what potentially could have happened. So my conclusion is that the sons of God were some sort of Elohim fallen angel beings. However, this union may or may not have resulted in the Nephilim. But we know that this displeased God enough to send the flood shortly after to basically start over. I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe even learned something. Please subscribe and give a thumbs up. Be kind and respectful in the comments. The topics on this channel are difficult and sometimes there's a difference of opinions, but that's okay. Be blessed, be encouraged, and I'll see you in the next video.